Hi guys, Drew here, back with another video, doing another Growlers review as usual. Oh, it felt so good saying that, guys. It just felt so good. But you may be thinking like, Drew, the Growlers don't exist anymore. What are you thinking? I have started a 5-episode series. This is episode 1 of the Newfoundland Growlers. Each episode will be an episode about, so this episode is season 1. So, the 2018-19 season. See, episode 2 will be the season of the 2019-20, etc. It keeps going on and on until it goes to the last season, the 5th season, final season. So I'm just going to be talking like a little recap of what happened in that season. I hope you guys are able to enjoy this series because I'm really excited to do this. I mean, before I put my phone on the ledge there and before I pressed play, I was like, oh my gosh, GFR is back. Like, this was made, like, Drew and I, this is the reason why I make YouTube videos with GFR. And, like, man, it's back. It's back. Okay. So I'm going to start off by saying Season 1 was the year the Newfoundland Growlers won the 2019 Kelly Cup. They defeated the Toledo Walleye in 6 games. But before I get into the playoffs deep dives, let's go to the start of the season. The Growlers' first signing was James Melindy. Dean McDonald was the one, I believe, who signed him. But James Melindy, first Newfoundlander to be on the squad, and he was named captain during the preseason. The Growlers' record when they finished the season was 43-21-8. They played really well, honestly. They started the season with Ryan Clough as their head coach. He was an assistant coach for the New Jersey Devils of the NHL back before the Growlers started their season. He started the season playing really well as their head coach, but due to his playing, he had a bit of like injury trouble in the NHL. He had to step back from the game, from coaching at least. So they decided to hire assistant coach. They decided to hire John Snowden to be their head coach. He came from Orlando, Florida, to come up to St. John's, and I mean, I don't know why he did that because the weather here is not that good. But he decided to come in and take the role as head coach, and he didn't disappoint. I mean, the Growlers finished the season pretty well with him behind the bench. At the end of the season, the leading point scorer was Zach O'Brien. He finished the season with 68 points. He was another Newfoundlander that joined the squad. I know most Growlers fans know the name Zach O'Brien, as he leads the team, I think, all time in points. So he's a really good player. That he introduced himself when he came here to the Growlers. The leading goal scorer, though, at the end of the season was actually Scott Pulley. He scored 31 goals. He's actually a rookie in the ECHL when he played for the Growlers that rookie season. He certainly did impress, and he scored 31 goals heading into the playoffs. So he kind of had a breakout season, even though it was really his rookie season. So Scott Pulley, definitely a Growlers legend. Kind of miss him. You gotta be honest with that though. But he played really well. The leading penalty minutes, I mean, you kind of know the answer to that. James Melindy had 185 penalty minutes. There was a time in that season, actually, where they came off for warm-ups, I believe, and he dropped the gloves with a guy, I don't even know who, but it made TSN, and he fought him, like, outside of the ring. Like, there's, like, a little walking way. It was in Brampton's arena. It was, like, a little walking way to get to the locker rooms, and while he was walking, he dropped the gloves with a guy, and people were getting videos and all this kind of stuff, and TSN, I believe it was on TSN the next morning. Like, it was that wild. But some other memorable things, the leading defenseman in points was actually Adam Party, as he signed with the Growlers in that offseason, but they really didn't know if he was going to play due to injury troubles in the NHL, as he played in the NHL before. And he was going to join the team, and he joined halfway through. He was their assistant captain, and he only put up 21 points. But I mean, he was leading all points in defensemen, so that's pretty impressive for him. I think the most underrated player on the Growlers, I mean, JJ Pikanich, in my opinion, was the most underrated. He played really well. He had 9 goals, 22 assists for 31 points. Definitely a little speedy defense forward. But he played really well for the Growlers in that rookie season. He played, yeah, really well, I've got to say. Hats off to JJ. Not that much talked about compared to some other players like Zach Bryan, Scott Pooley, Adam Party, James Melindy, some of the bigger players. But JJ Pikanich, definitely one of the most underrated for the Growlers. And he played really well in his rookie season. Some NHLers that were actually on that team that are like current, they may be current, they may be past NHLers. Christian Rubens is one. He played for the Toronto Maple Leafs a bit, and he played for the Ottawa Senators, I believe, in the preseason this year, or maybe in last year. I'm not too sure. Griffin Molina was another. He didn't play much for the Growlers. You probably don't know his name, but he actually played for the Vancouver Canucks a couple of years before he played with the Growlers. Semyon Dragan-Chentsev was another name. He played a few games for the Toronto Maple Leafs last year. He was joined the team like halfway through the season and for a bit of the playoffs. Timothy Liljegren was another name. He's probably the biggest name on the list. But Liljegren, he played one game for the Growlers only. He was a really good player in the AHL, but then he graduated from the AHL to join to the NHL, and he played really well for Toronto. I mean, he's like a mediocre defenseman. I mean, most Leafs fans aren't a big fan of him. They want him to kind of be traded, but he's probably like the biggest name out of all of these. Adam Party was another. He played for the Growlers. Obviously, I mean, he halfway through he played a long career in the NHL. One of the biggest things about him you probably know is when he got body checked into the glass and the glass like fell apart, and then someone took his helmet off and kept it, and then he wore it, and they had the camera on the guy who was wearing it. But I found that pretty cool. But yeah, Adam Party is another NHL defenseman that played in the NHL, that played for the Growlers, and another player that was a defenseman that played for the Growlers as well as the NHL was Kyle Comiskey. He was also an assistant captain from the start of the season, but he didn't play much at all in the playoffs, I remember. But Kyle Comiskey was another guy who played for the Growlers who also played in the NHL. And the highest and lowest plus minus. Scott Pooley actually had the highest plus minus for the Growlers. I mean, he had a good rookie season, so I mean you can't define that rookie season as long as a good plus minus was also good. Ryan Moore and Tyler Maya were tied for the lowest plus minus. As Ryan Moore actually, that was his last pro season for the Growlers. He didn't play that bad, honestly. JJ Pickenich and him are probably two of the best underrated players on the Growlers. Ryan Moore definitely played really well. He didn't play much in the playoffs, I don't think. But that was actually his last pro season. I believe he retired at the end of that season. So he isn't doing much hockey-wise now. But Ryan Moore, definitely an underrated player for the Growlers. And then Tyler Maya, I mean, he didn't play much. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but kind of doesn't. But then assistant coach at the time, Daryl Williams, is actually now an assistant coach for the Philadelphia Flyers of the NHL. Daryl Williams, he actually joined the Growlers as an assistant coach, but he was being an assistant coach in the NHL. So the Growlers' coaching staff was not that bad. They had a guy like Ryan Clough, who was being an assistant coach in the NHL. Same thing for Daryl Williams. And then John Stone, he was pretty much coaching in Orlando, I believe. So then they joined him. But the Growlers coaching staff, I mean, it kind of makes sense how they won the Kelly Cup that year. Their goalie coach Merrick Benda was their goalie coach from the start to the end of the Growlers history. He was definitely one of the best goalie coaches. I'm interested to see where he goes to be a goalie coach next year. But we'll only have to wait and see what happens with that, though. Ryan Clough is actually now a senior advisor for the New York Rangers in the NHL. If you're curious what a senior advisor is, honestly, I don't know much about them. All I know really is that they kind of look at it like the general manager and say, hey, this guy here, he's really good. Why don't we trade for him? Or this player, why don't we just send him down to the minors? Or something like that. He's actually now the senior advisor for New York Rangers. So after he left for the Growlers, he went to the Rangers to be their team's consult and senior advisor. The Growlers All-Star who played in the All-Star game for the Growlers was none other than the game-winning goal scorer in the Kelly Cup Finals Game 6 with Giorgio Estefan. He played really well in his rookie season, I believe, for the Growlers. His first season for the Growlers. He played really well, got 2 goals in the Kelly Cup clinching game. Giorgio Estefan, definitely a player you're going to remember for a pretty long time. But now we get to the playoffs, as the Growlers, their first ever playoff series, is an all-Canadian matchup versus the Brampton Beast. They have a pretty good series against them, as Brady Ferguson probably has the most iconic. Oh, actually, no. Sam Jardine was the overtime winner to beat the Brampton Beast as the Newfoundland Growlers head to the second round versus the Manchester Monarchs. Before we get to the Monarch series, Brady Ferguson also had a good overtime goal, as well as Zach O'Brien and then Sam Jardine. 3 of the 4 Growlers wins in that series were in overtime. So the overtime heroes, I'll say. But then the Growlers move to play against the Manchester Monarchs. And I gotta say, the Growlers played really well in that series as well. I believe they beat them in 6 games. They lost opening night, and I gotta say, I was a bit of a crier back then. And when the Edge lost to, I believe it was St. John's Edge, I'm talking about basketball now. When they lost to the Moncton Magic, I believe, in the finals, I cried a lot. And when the Growls lost game one, I got really upset as well. I mean, it was only game one, and the Growls ended up winning that series as well, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I didn't make GFRs at that time either, so I mean, I didn't know much about hockey back then. I was kind of a new fan, but I definitely was a big fan for the Growls. But they are able to beat the Manchester Monarchs in 6 games. Then they go to play the Florida Everblades in the Eastern Conference Finals, and oh, we'll talk about the Everblades more in this season, I'll say, of GFR. But I mean, they played the Everblades, and they were able to beat them in 5 games. They pretty much dominated, honestly, in that series. I believe their last game was like a 3-0 win. Then they won like 6-1 or 6-0 over the Everblades in Game 4. But the one game I was at in that series, of that I watched, the Growls lost. So I mean, was I the bad luck charm in that series? Maybe. But I mean, the Growlers played well in that series versus the Florida Everblades, and then they move to the Kelly Cup Finals, and for the first time, they'll face off against the Toledo Walleye. And yeah, you ever want to know what a goon is? Yeah, the Toledo Walleye. But I mean, Toledo, they were just pests. I mean, the whole series was just a gong show. I mean, that play where like Kevin Tansey and Storm just like almost killed Josh Kestner. He was laying down cold out, knocked out on the ice. I wish I had a clip of that, but I just couldn't find any. If anybody has a clip of it, please comment down below that clip because I really want to find it. But he was just down there laying on the ice. He had to get stretchered off, and he was actually able to finish the series. I believe he came back for the next game, or game 3 and 4. I mean, he may have missed game 3 and 4, but I know that he was back for game 6. And in the Kelly Cup clinching game, of course, because he scored one of the goals in game 6. But the Growls were able to finish off that series in 6 games, as they were able to do that with Manchester and now Toledo. But I mean, the Growlers playing really well in this finals, in that finals at least. They went to Toledo for games 3 and 4, I believe and 5. But they lost game 3. I believe they won game 4 and lost game 5. So the first 2 games were wins by the Growlers. Opening game 1 with a little bit of a rough one. I believe they were up 3-0, and they blew the lead, and then Toledo was able to tie it up. They went to overtime, but Josh Kessler scores the overtime winner. He was definitely one of the best players in the playoff series for the Growlers, and he sellied hard. I mean, that selly where he just jumps, like, he almost jumped over the glass. That selly was definitely one of the best, and I was pretty excited for that win. As the Growlers take the 1-0 series lead, and then game 2 is the game where Josh Kessler gets laid out cold on the ice. Growlers get a 5-minute power play. Scott Pulley ties it up. I believe it's like 1-1 at that point. Then it goes to overtime, and on that same power play, Scott Pulley scores the overtime winner, and the Growls take the 2-0 series lead. But then they move to Toledo, and they lose game 3. Then they go to game 4, and they're able to get the win there. But I remember I was watching some clips a couple of weeks ago, I remember, of that game 4. And I remember one of the goals, I think it was Estefan or Kestner maybe, one of the 20s that were right-handed shot. They went up to the glass, and there was a bunch of Toledo fans that were a little bit upset, maybe giving them the finger a little bit. But I mean, the Growls were able to get that W, and then they go into game 5, able to clinch the Kelly Cup if able. I believe at Boston Pizza they were recording the game. They had the game on at the Boston Pizza on Water Street, and it was recorded on Rogers TV. Everybody was watching it in the province pretty much. But the Growls lose that game, and then they head back here at Mile 1 Center to clinch the Kelly Cup. If they lose the game, they go to game 7. Nobody would really be excited for game 7 because they'd be facing elimination for the first time in the playoffs. But they head to game 7. They open up the scoring with a Matt Bradley goal assisted by Zach O'Brien. Matt Bradley was a really good player for the Growlers in the opening season, and we'll talk about him a little bit more in the next episode. But Matt Bradley opens up the scoring. The crowd goes crazy. Lukey's Boat, the goal song, keeps playing, and the crowd is getting into it. And then the next goal goes to, I believe it was Kevin Tansey. No, it was Josh Kester was the goal. Josh Kester, I believe it went in review, but they weren't able to get any clips because the tablet wasn't working, I believe. So they called it a goal. Josh Kester gets the crowd fired up, and it's 2-0 Growl. Then, as I mentioned a little earlier, Kevin Tansey with a slap shot, a blast, is able to get Toledo within one goal. The Growlers still with a 2-1 lead, but Toledo is only one goal away from tying things up. But Giorgio Estefan is able to score on the 2-on-1, and he gets the crowd fired up for that one. The crowd is going crazy. Over 6,000 fans there, in a capacity of the Maryland Center where there is about 6,000. So only standing room only really at this game. But Giorgio Estefan gives the Growlers a 3-1 lead, and then it goes to the third period, and he does it again. Giorgio Estefan, definitely one of the heroes in this game 6, as the Growlers take the 4-1 lead in the third period. And now, if you're a Leafs fan, you know 4-1 leads aren't that important, but the Toledo Walleye are able to strike back. Hunter Smith makes it 4-2 for the Growlers, but Toledo is only 2 goals away from tying things up. And then AJ Jinx, with about 4 minutes left, it gets Toledo within 1 goal. The crowd is in awe. What's going to happen? And it goes to a crazy last 2 minutes. Scott Pooley flips the puck down the ice. It bounces over the net, and it isn't able to pass. It isn't able to beat the net, and it was an empty net. But the last 2 seconds, I mean, I believe it was registered with a hard slap shot in the block in front, and then the Growlers are crowned Kelly Cup champions. That game, it was a crowd atmosphere, crazy atmosphere, I've got to say. And they sally hard as they are the first Canadian team to ever win the Kelly Cup, and the first, I believe, team besides Brampton to win the Kelly Cup as well. But James Melindy goes to get the cup from Patrick J. Kelly, and he lifts it above his head. I don't think I have any pictures of that, but it's definitely one of the best pictures in Growlers history, by far at least. But yeah, the Growlers are Kelly Cup champions, and then they head to the 2019-20 season ready to get things done. And that's going to be it for today's video, guys, of episode 1. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please make sure to be here next Thursday, as I will have episode 2 of the 2019-20 season Newfoundland Growlers. That team was pretty special, so we're going to be talking about that season as well. And that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you do, you can like this video. You can subscribe if you really liked it. We're on the road to 300 subscribers, so if you can hit that subscribe button down below, I really appreciate it. That's it for today's video, guys, and I'll talk to you all again soon.